Happy Tuesday, ladies and gentlemen. This is Rob, and I am back with episode number 339 of Shut Up and Grind, where we are all about overcoming obstacles, defying the odds, and inspiring you to clear whatever's blocking the path to whatever success you want in this lifetime. So, regardless of what platform you're joining me on, we'll be live on 2 Facebook pages and a LinkedIn page, and we're on all of the podcast platforms. We have audience in 65 different countries, and I've had guests from 6 of the 7 continents. It's all about sharing stories. Whatever it is that you've been through, we take the what happened and we expand the how people got through it. And the things that I've heard over these 330, well, 38 so far episodes, absolutely amazing. So whatever it is that you're going through, whatever it is that might have you stuck, you can get to the other side. If you're honest with yourself, if you show up authentically and you're working towards something. Got to get you on a mission. So to help me have this discussion, I'm getting blind to my old age, so I can't see the screen. We're talking about the author of Nobody Cares Until You Do, The Power of Ownership. And helping me have this conversation is a man with a great name. This is Robert Hunt. Welcome to the show, sir.
Thank you, Robert. Good to be here.
Awesome. Where are you joining me from?
I am in the north of the Dallas, Texas area.
Dallas. I've been to Dallas a few times. Are you born and raised?
No, I grew up in Southern California. I moved here in 2010, but I feel like this is my home. I feel like it's been 15 years now. The last 15 years, I've accomplished more in my life than I ever dreamed I would. But I've accomplished more in the last 15 years than I think I did the whole time living in Southern California.
Wow. Why do you think that is?
You know, when the opportunity is there and you're prepared for it, there's great things you can accomplish. I was not ready for greatness, and I doubted myself a lot. I grew up in a very bad home environment, so my self-image was really bad, very insecure, a lot of insecurities, and so I had to work through a lot of those things through the journey I went on. But when I got to Texas, everything started coming together because I decided to start living out my life and pursuing my purpose, the things I really wanted to be and do. And all the opportunities were there. I just had to step up and do it.
Love it. I'm glad you said that. And we're gonna circle back to that because that's a huge role. Opportunities and being prepared for the opportunities. But first, we want to know more about you. How would you describe yourself?
I am a child of God. I'm loved by my Savior who died for me, who loved me enough to die for me. I've been blessed this life. I have a beautiful wife who loves me. I have 2 wonderful children, and I have a great career. But at the heart of who I am is just a child of God. And with that, though, I've learned that is the core of who I am. That dictates what I do and how I look at life and my challenges. Because I know I'm loved and because I know He has a plan for my life, it guides me and it directs me, and it's where I spend my focus and time because of that.
Great answer. All right. So, how would you describe your childhood?
It was, on one hand, it was a lot of fun because I had 2 older brothers and we hung out constantly. And I did not know we were poor. We just had a great time. We played a lot. And those are the good days where you could just be out till the street light came on and no one had a clue where you were. You just had to come home when the street lights came on. But I had a really angry father, and he couldn't keep a job. And I think that kind of drove him to a lot of his own insecurities that he then took out on us. I watched him beat my mom many times. I watched him beat us as kids. And I just think he was broken. I don't think and I don't know, I'll never know, what all was going on in his world, but his brokenness poured over into our lives. And so it was a tough childhood in a lot of ways. My freshman year, my mom finally kicked him out, said, this is enough. And I was really happy that she did. It was a big move for her because she worked 3 jobs to take care of the kids, but we needed to get rid of him, and it was a smart move. So then I learned to step up and take some responsibility for life because Mom had 3 jobs and I needed to earn my own keep and do things to make whatever I wanted. So I grew up a little bit quicker because of that, but I liked it. And I got married pretty young. I was 20 years old when I got married. And I learned again, I didn't know anything about being a husband. I didn't know anything about being a man. And so I learned what I didn't want to be. I knew what I didn't want to be, but I left everything open as to, well, what does it look like? And so it was a rough journey from the start. But I learned that since I don't know anything, I don't need to be cocky and try and look like I got it all together. I go to my Heavenly Father, and I find hope and wisdom and confidence and love and assurance through Him that I didn't get from my earthly father. So I'll never have that. You move on and
Mm.
don't complain about it because nobody cares.
See, I don't think anybody really truly 100% has it together. You know,
No,
it's like I've made
no,
plenty of mistakes. I make plenty of mistakes now. You know, like
right.
things happen, but but authenticity is a big thing, and I think a lot of people get derailed off their path because they don't stand on what their core values are. Like with me, when I talk to people now, like I'm 50 years old now, and I talk in brutal truths. Like if I feel something, I'm saying what I feel. It's like I'm not out to hurt people's feelings or anything, but like I say what I mean, and I mean what I say.
Yeah.
And that's kind of a lost art nowadays, where people are lying, and then they have to lie to cover up that lie,
Oh
and then lie
my.
to cover up
Yeah.
that lie. You
Yeah.
know, it's like, and you're lying to people that you supposedly care about. Where it's more powerful and it's more freeing if you just tell the truth
And
and
why are
just
you
be
lying?
yourself
Because
about how you feel.
you want to look better, so you lie, but then you're really not dealing with the fact that you have insecurities. We all are insecure. We all have things that we struggle with. We all have failures, and we're aware of them. Other people don't know how much we suck. They only see a certain percentage of our challenges, but we watch every bit of it. So we know how we don't have it together. And for you to pretend at all is a joke. It just adds more stress to you
Hmm.
that you have to live to a level that you aren't, that isn't who you are. But if we were all genuinely
Exactly.
real about it, we could support each other and help each other in our weaknesses.
Absolutely, and that's the number one reason why I do this, because I hear it. I just hear it in everyday life, whether it's at my gym, just listen to some of my clients talk, whether it's out in the mall or shopping at the beach. You just hear people just settling for life. They're just settling, like,
Yes.
oh, that ship has sailed.
Yes.
That's a long lost dream. It's like
Right.
I'm 50 years old and I'm just now about to launch a speaking business, like just now, you
That's
know. And like
awesome.
every few years, um pivoting into something. Like I just published a book this maybe 4 or 5 months ago, and I'm taking a mastermind this Thursday and Friday, which is going to completely set up all the marketing for my speaking business. We're going to craft my keynote speech, and I'm going to be part of a group that has a lot of connections to get paid speaking gigs. And like if I just adopted the societal mindset of, you know, by this age you should have this, by this age you should be doing this, like that, like that's all nonsense. It's like in I was in an industry that wasn't serving me as a
Yeah.
person, or as a father, or as I won't say husband, but I was a long-term boyfriend. We were together 13 years, right? But it wasn't serving, and I had to take the leap and pivot into something else. But a lot of people are afraid to take that leap. So
Yeah.
so your father leaves the house, what was the first week? What was the first week like of that new reality?
Well, I don't know. That's a long time ago, but I know that I wasn't in fear of him. And
Mm,
I didn't have to go see him even after they were divorced. I let a little bit of time go, maybe a year, and then I would go visit him at his apartment. But I didn't have to stay. And so if I didn't,
mm,
if I didn't like the mood or his attitude, I could leave. I felt a lot of power at that point. But I'll tell you, 40 years later, he got real sick, and his girlfriend called me and said, "Your father's dying. You need to take care of him." I'm like, "Well, where do you live?"
oh,
And so I went and picked him up and brought him to my house and tried to figure out what was going on with him. And he had dementia and he had health issues. And I had the opportunity to spend about a year and a half taking care of him. And I still thought he would hit me. I still remember putting his
wow.
shoes on, and when they wouldn't get on his feet right, he'd get his face like this that he'd get when he was mad. And I thought, oh, man, he's going to hit me. Yeah, yeah,
Mm,
I'm an adult. And I still thought my dad was going to hit me. Now, I didn't worry about it because he could barely move around. So, I didn't think it would hurt. But I had that reflex, after all those years of his abuse. But I I will never have the father I wanted, but I could be the son I wanted to be. And so I took him to doctor appointments. I gave
Like
him an
that.
enema. um,
Yeah.
I I helped him with all kinds of challenges with his health, and I remember giving him kisses on his forehead and saying "I love you." He never said "I love you." He just couldn't say it. Just wasn't who he was. But I could
Yeah.
tell him I love him, and what it did is allowed me to dump out the bad hurt negativity that a lot of my family members still have today, because they did not connect with him during those days. They didn't want anything to do with him, and rightly so. I understand that. But the hurt that they had, they still have. And I let mine go before he died. And so I think you look at your struggles in life and you can be miserable about it and you can complain, and there people would go, yeah, you're right, but nobody cares. And I wanted a father. And since I really couldn't ever have him be the father I wanted, I could be the son. And I really enjoyed those days.
I love that. Like out of all these episodes, I've done a lot on people that have lost parents and had to care for their parents when they weren't well. But no one's ever said that. That's a solid statement. I like that.
Oh, thank you. I looked at my life. Uh, Again, it's like everything we deal with. You can be miserable or not. And if you really want to see how blessed you are, go to another country. Go to India.
Mm,
Go to these other places where currently they're dropping bombs in their cities. Go to places where they just look for water or food every day. As much as you want to complain that you don't have this or that, you're not in other countries. Just being in America, and the worst part of America is better than most other countries. Maybe that's
yep.
not a statistically accurate statement, but you know what I'm saying is that all you got to do is look around at how other people live, and realize how blessed you are, even if things are really, really hard. So it's a decision you make is how you're going to look at life.
See, and to illustrate that, I've interviewed a lot of immigrants, and people are like, I don't understand why Americans hate this country. they're
Yeah,
like
yeah,
you can,
right.
they're like you can just move freely here. you know, I interviewed this guy from Israel, and I actually interviewed two women recently. This is probably maybe 4 or 5 months ago, who are currently in Israel with the conflict going on. So to get some firsthand and views of what they see and just what they deal with on a daily basis.
Yeah.
It's like people here, they'll crack an iPhone case and they're ready to jump off a bridge. And you have people who have to walk 10 miles for water,
Yeah.
20 miles, 30 miles to go to a hospital. Like struggles that we even in the poorest of neighborhoods here,
Yeah.
we're not dealing with that.
Yeah. There's a great verse in the Bible that says contentment is a great source of gain. So when you really realize how much you're content, if you can become content and you step back and look at what you already have, it's a great source of gain. It's a reality. I already have it all. We tell the story in our book, Nobody Cares Until You Do, about how we owed $90,000 in debt. That didn't include the house or the cars, and it was killing us. So we decided that we need to stop blaming, make excuses, or saying there's nothing we can do about it. We need to own it. So we sold our house and we downsized and we moved into here. This was 2020, March of 2020. We moved in here 5 years ago this month, and
Yeah.
um, and we still live here. And we lived a really big house with a movie theater in it, and it was beautiful with gigantic furniture. But I couldn't afford it. It wasn't the reality of it. And so as I look in this house and I can hear everybody breathe at night, down the hallway, it's a small house, but I am content. I wake up in the morning, I have my life. I'm going to eat food. I sit on the couch and talk to the Lord and thank him for all I have. Every night when I go to bed, this beautiful woman is in my arms next to me. And no matter how the size of my house is, that bed is still the same size, whether I'm in a big house or a small house. And so if she's in
Mm.
that bed with me, I got everything. So I've learned to be content, and it's really has created a mindset that I already have everything. Um, Stop whining.
Yeah, facts. Like just 2 years ago, I had to walk away from my gym business, and I just left the keys. I walked away from everything. Right when I tell you, I literally lost everything. I lived in hotels for like 5 or 6 days. Like I literally had nowhere to live, and I had no money. I had maxed out all my credit cards, tanked my credit, and I'm human. I went into a depression for a bit, about 6 weeks or so, and then just one day I'm brushing my teeth, and I was like, I looked at myself in the mirror and I was like, you literally have a show called Shut Up and Grind, right? Like, shut up and grind. And here I am wallowing in self pity.
Yeah.
And so I I was gonna walk away from fitness altogether. Like that situation nearly cracked me, and I was gonna go into digital marketing. But I was like, it was actually once I restarted the show because I paused it for a bit. So the very first guest I had told me about her moving here from Vancouver to Hollywood, and because she wanted to break into the Hollywood, and she said I knocked on every single door until I got a yes.
Hmm. Yeah.
And I was like, and here you are sitting in your bed, drinking like a fish, blaming the other guy for what happened. And I
Yeah.
was like, you did this.
This is
You
why
did
we
this
need to
because
surround ourselves with people who will be honest with us, because we
yes.
we buy our own bad negative press too easily. And you're not completely honest when you tell the story to some people. It's always spun a little bit. That guy was a total jerk, and you don't mention the part
Mm,
that before that you were a total jerk to him. Over the
yeah.
years of how you treat people, all this stuff. And so when you surround yourself with other people who are not gonna go, yeah, good for you, you should complain. Yeah, good for you, you should give up. You need people who will stand up and say, stop it. You have potential. You can do this. You're better than this. But we don't allow ourselves to be vulnerable. One of the rules of our book is that real accountability requires vulnerability. Nobody can hold anyone
Mhm.
accountable. You can only hold yourself accountable if you want it. And you have to
Yep.
invite people into your story and be real enough to say, I am struggling. I don't know what I'm going to do. I feel like giving up. And then those people who know you and love you can go, no, 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 you're good. You got this. And they're not just blowing smoke. They're really reminding you of what truth is. Because sometimes we believe our own lies were our worst enemy. And that's why you have to be vulnerable enough to let people really know what's going on in your life.
Yeah, because we live in this safe space world now, where it's like you just can't be honest with people. Like, look, this is what's holding you back. Like, there's one of the women at the gym. She comes in and she's constantly negative self talking, constantly. And I have to go over and put my arm around. I'm like, listen, you're in a happy place. You're in a happy place now. Come here, drop your guard. Let's have some fun. Let's throw some weights around. Let's burn some calories. I'm like, why do you want to come in every day with that negative energy? And like,
Yeah.
and it's early. Like if you're doing this at 7 a.m., you're setting the tone for the rest of your day.
And it gets
And you're
worse as
gonna
it goes
spend
along.
spend your day, yeah, you're gonna spend your day looking for troubles
Yeah.
instead of going back to the word you used, looking for opportunities. It's like we wallow so much in our struggles, in our self-pity, in our negative self-talk that you don't see the opportunities that are waving at you.
And I would say that the world has become very commonplace for everybody to say that it's normal for you to complain about things, to be unhappy about things. Social media just promotes it. You could take all your frustration, anger, disappointment, and promote it into a wonderful video and post, and everybody likes it and shares and gives you attaboys or says, "Oh, we understand." But
Hmm.
what you're creating your own bad narrative. I mean, again, maybe it's a bad situation, but you're not in Gaza where people are blowing up your streets every day.
Yeah.
You're not in Russia.
Whole
You're not in
neighborhood.
North Korea.
Yep. Exactly. And people have to understand that the opportunities really are everywhere.
Yeah.
Like there's more resources now, right here. Everybody that has a smartphone, you have a world of resources right at your fingertips. And
Yeah.
now with Chat GPT, it can surf the web. It can surf like 20 sites all in 5 seconds, and you can find the answer to almost everything out there. But the other side to it, though, is you can find whatever answer you're looking for. So like if I have this reason why I'm being held back, I'm sure there's an article out there that's gonna
Sure.
validate your story,
Right.
rather than and then people want to find other people who are struggling so you can struggle together. It's
Hmm.
like, why don't you seek out people who are not struggling and see about adopting their habits? What are
And
your thoughts
well,
on
pretty much everybody's struggling. What you want to do is find someone who's going to be real in the struggle. That
that? Yeah.
it is false to sit and cry and complain about something. It does suck. It is hard. Okay, that's fine. But that is what a struggle is. We're
Mm.
created to be on this planet and to work through the situations of life, and they're hard. and we just have to gear up for the reality that it's going to be hard. In the moments that it's easy, that's nice, but that's not what really life is like. It's hard.
Yes.
And so you have to be realistic about it. And the negative part that you put on just makes it worse, at least in your own perspective.
Absolutely. Because again, people forget that like our bodies run off of our brain. So
Yeah,
whatever you feed your brain, that's what your body is
that's
going to
right.
respond to. And
Yeah.
I prove this in the gym all the time. We'll take the wall set for an example. So you sit on the wall set 2, 3, 4, 5 minutes, and if you just focus on the pain in your legs, you're not going to last the full time. So I tell people before we start this wall set, get your cell phone and put on a YouTube video. Right, you watch that video, and now your mind is focused on the video. That 3 minute wall set goes by like
Good
it's nothing.
point.
But if you just sit there and you're like, this sucks, this sucks, this sucks, this sucks, then you're gonna give up after 45 seconds.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Well, in my world, I've seen people who have taken the struggles and challenges of life and embraced them. And I work with business owners and CEOs. Those are my clients. And they have a tremendous burden and responsibility that they carry. And they may have started the company because they loved doing this or that, or they made a widget, whatever it was that got them into business. When it got bigger and they had all these people's lives that they're responsible for, it added a whole nother level of stress, because now you don't just think of cutting back, you think of laying people off, you think of their kids and their security and their needs. It's a big decision, so there's a lot of burden. Either way, whatever your life looks like, whether you're the owner of the company or you're an employee, you have a decision to make about how you view it. Do you want to see life as a victim, or do you want to see life in the eyes of a victor? And it's very simple to get caught up in the traps that we play as a victim, where we blame, we make excuses, we say we can't do anything about it, or we just wait and hope it gets better. All those are victim thoughts. But if you own it and you say to yourself, nobody cares until I do. And when I care enough to do something about it, I gain the opportunity to change everything in my life. We did that in our own journey with our debt. And then after years of having stressful marriage because of our debt, we realized our relationship's not what we want it to be. And we had some hard conversations we need to have. So we went to counseling, and we made everything in our lives that wasn't what we wanted to be a target. And you don't make excuses, you don't blame things, you own it and you get on it. And it's been years that we've been working on this bit by bit to create the world that we want to live in. You have the right to create the world you want to live in. It is your choice, you own it, it's your journey. But you got to stop playing the victim role.
So what made you make that choice? Was there a time where did something happen and you're like, you know what, I can't do this
Yeah.
anymore? Something's got to change.
Yeah, in 2019, we had years and years of building debt, more and more. You don't start at 90,000, you start at 5, and then you go to 20, and then you go 40,
Mm,
and it just keeps growing. And
yeah.
we decided at the beginning of 2019, hey, I'm sick of being in debt. I'm sick of the stress this is causing me. If God doesn't show up and fix our problems, I drop in a big bag of money in the backyard, we're going to sell this house and start over. And we agreed that this will be the year we really own it. We really make decisions. So all year long, we're like, okay, God, fix this problem. I don't want to sell this house. I don't want to move. And all year long, things were not changing a bit. In September of that year, I got vertigo for 16 days. Just
Wow.
randomly. I've never had vertigo before. It was debilitating. You can't sit up, you can't lay down, you can't sleep, you can't eat. I mean, it's just, that's the end of it. You're done. I had it for 16 days, and it was about halfway through I realized, hey, I'll never be able to work again. This is the rest of my life. I'm going to be sick like this. Doctors couldn't figure it out. Went and did all kinds of things. It just wouldn't go away. And I told Kathy, if I can't work anymore, we're screwed. And it was during that time I resolved, that's it. I cannot kick the can down the road one more day. We got to pull the trigger and sell the house. So thankfully, the Lord took away the vertigo. And in the end of September, we decided we'll put the house on the market and start getting ready to sell it. It took a while because Christmas is not a great time to sell the house. So we took it off, put it back on. But by March, we had sold the house and moved into here and started over.
That's great. That's great. And when I'm talking with people, they all say it's so hard. Like it's so hard. I'm like, it's not. It's really not. You can decide right now, and then you'll start taking the steps to do what it is. Going back to what I said earlier, when you're focused on struggles, you don't see the opportunities. So like when I decided to go coach track again, it relit my fire for
Mm.
fitness. Just watching the kids respond, watching them soak up the information, watching them putting forth the effort. I was like, this is where I belong. And then the very first gym that I walked into, I hit the jackpot because I wanted something to where I can manage the operation, but not do the business side. And the very first one I walked into hit the jackpot. It's like such a perfect setup. But the guy had two locations, so I'm running one of the locations completely, teaching the classes there and everything, doing the personal training. I'm training track and field athletes. But like if I just stayed on my bed wallowing in self misery, I wouldn't have seen any of those opportunities. And
Yeah.
again, the purpose of this show is to inspire people to take the leap of faith. Because if you don't take the leap, you're going to stay right where you are.
Well, and you don't go from bad to fixed. You go from bad
Yes.
to little tiny steps along the way. That's why in the
Yeah.
book we tell it's like climbing a mountain. We correlate the journey of accountability to climbing a mountain. It takes
Yep.
planning, it takes effort, it takes focus, it takes discipline, it takes time, and you bit by
Yep.
bit you're going. But so if you go, well, I decided I'm gonna fix my life, and then tomorrow it's still not fixed, you don't give up. It takes time. How long
Exactly.
did it take you to screw up your life? It's going to take you at least that long to get it back. I mean, or some period of time. Like if I'm overweight and it took me 3 years to get fat, do you think you can lose it in a week? I mean, it took you a long time to
And
get fat.
people
It
think
took
they
you a long
can.
time. Yeah.
Yeah, some people think like I had this woman, excuse me, she was complaining. She's like, Rob, she's like, this is the fourth straight week that I only lost a half a pound. I said,
Half a
okay,
pound.
keep going, keep
Good
going.
job.
In 52 weeks, that's 26 pounds.
Right.
To your point, people have that I want it now attitude.
Yeah.
Like I knew when I was starting to rebuild that I was like I had a 3-year plan. Like the first year was to just get back to sea level because I was underwater. I was like get back to sea level in year one. Year two was to start planting the seeds for this year three for everything to blossom. Because once this because I have a course and like I said I'm going to go on a book tour and a speaking tour, and it's like so this year we're going to erase all the debt, and then next year I decide what I want to do with my life. you
That's
know
awesome. Yeah. We
it,
downplay the incremental value of the efforts we do, and we over exaggerate what we think the expectation of a big result is going to look like. So we're not fair to ourselves. Again, this is why you surround yourself with other people who will speak truth in your life. And when you have a buddy that you're willing to be totally honest with, they can talk you off the ledge a lot. They're not your babysitter. They don't do it for you. They're not holding you accountable. They're encouraging you, but you got to be honest.
yes, that's the key. That is the key because as I said earlier, I am very honest. I'm very direct and to the point. It's like sometimes people may get offended, but like that's not the goal. Like my goal isn't to offend you. My goal is to help you. But if I'm gonna help you, I have to tell you exactly what I see.
Right.
And this is what I see in your actions and your habits and your behaviors. This is what I see.
Yeah.
And which to me, in my opinion and my experience, that's what's leading to this negative self-talk and these limiting beliefs and this imposter syndrome. It's because of these things. But then people want to sugarcoat things. And that just makes it worse because you're keeping this person in this current state. And it doesn't work that way. But I want to get into your business and your book. So which came first? Did you start the business first or did you write the book first?
Started the business. I came to Texas and I was doing marketing consulting. That's my career up until the time I changed. And so in 2010 we moved here and I was doing marketing consulting. I ran into the guy who owned the franchise rights for a peer group model here in Dallas. And I loved the idea of living out my purpose through my job. I was never able to do that before. Had a great career, made a lot of money, but I wasn't finding significance in the work. And so when I heard about peer groups, I thought, well, that's exactly who I am. That is what I was created for. And so I quit doing my marketing. I joined the peer group model. I got trained and I started having my first peer group in 2013. And it's been a slow build. I didn't have any skill or experience in doing that. I didn't know anybody in Texas. I only been here a couple of years. So it was a really slow build. But I knew this is exactly where God had called me to be. And I had to stick with my passion and my confidence that I'm in the right place. And it just took a long time. But a lot of people, if they buy a company, they got to put down $100,000 and they got to,
Yeah.
have all this money they spend. I have no overhead. It's just me. So it was easy to just not make money, but I wasn't spending too much money. So it was a slow build, but it didn't choke me out. But it was continuing to live a lifestyle like I had a paid job like I did before, and not having income is what got us into trouble. You need to be real. You need to adjust to where you are today. And if money's tight today,
Yeah.
spend less. Here's a novel idea: spend less than you earn. I just invented that. Nobody's ever heard that before, apparently. But if you are really going to be smart, you're going to actually save some, put some away for when things go wrong. And I like to give some back to God to say thank you for the money you're giving me and the life I live. So that's the way I set up. But most people spend more money than they make, and all it does is cause stress and worry about how do I make minimum payments? How do I get out of debt? You did it to yourself. Own it. Make a change now. It's not too late. You still can get out of it. I did. I had $90,000 in debt.
Yeah, like I was watching a video earlier, and the guy was talking about Jeff Bezos, one of the richest men in the world, that he lives very humbly, and well, I mean, I know he's got a private jet, but but he
But
lives
just one.
pretty humbly. Yeah, just one. But he said the $200,000 car will get me to my destination just as well as the $15,000 car.
That's right.
He's like,
That's right.
he's like, so why am I going to spend that extra money and for what? And that's always been my philosophy too. Like when I was younger, I fed into that. I'd wear the designer jeans and the fancy clothes. I had chains and rings and all that. And I look back now, 30 years later, because I got into management young, so I made a decent amount of money at a young age. And it's like if I invested even a quarter of
Yeah.
that, I would be rolling right now. But I
Right.
was too busy trying to keep up with the Joneses. Now I couldn't care less. It's like I don't have any fancy suits. I don't have any fancy shoes. I don't have any Air Jordans. I drive a Kia Optima. You know what I mean? It's like that's not my focus anymore. Like my focus is trying to help people overcome self-doubt and get
Mm.
people to believe in the power of telling their stories and just owning your reality. You know, to what you said earlier, everybody struggles. Everybody posting these happy life every single day photos on Instagram. That's not real.
No.
That's not real. That's just what they're showing you.
And all it does is add more stress to you to have to live up to that. The story you tell the world, you now feel like you have to maintain. And
Yeah,
then it puts more stress on you to have more stuff to look better. And I think life is a lot more enjoyable when you own it and you just go through where God's placed me today is where I am today. And God could give me 1,000 customers overnight if he wanted to. But if he's only going to have my business grow this much, then I need to spend below that and enjoy the journey. I'm having a great time in
yes,
my life. And I'm not making the most. I made more in 2020 and 21, but we're making good money, but it's not like it was up here. Then it's down here now. Well, then spend below that. You can choose to live the life you want to choose. It's yours to live. You just got to be intentional about it.
absolutely. How did you come up with the title of your book?
As we were writing out stories about accountability and trying to teach the principles in the book, a lot of the stories that came up were about my son James as a young man in those early years. And James was infamous for having excuses or blaming as a young man. And it was just natural for him. And I would tell him, James, nobody cares whether you have a bad teacher or not. Nobody cares if your friends are this or that. Nobody cares if the test was not fairly presented. Nobody cares. Your wife isn't going to care that you have a jerk boss. She's going to care that you didn't keep your job and now you're out of a job. Nobody's going to care that balancing your checkbook is hard and money's hard to manage. They're going to care that you ran out of money and you're bankrupt. You have to start looking at everything in your life as you own it. And I would say nobody cares. And I'm not being mean. I'm not like nobody cares. Get out of here. I'm telling him, listen, stop making this as a comfortable excuse for you. It's a victim mindset, and you need to think about it. So I would say those a lot to him. And so as we were deciding the title of the book, we thought that that's the magical phrase where you stop being a victim and you move on to owning it. When you say to yourself, nobody cares until I do. And so we thought that would be a good attention getter and help people to recognize what is that about and maybe get them to investigate more.
Love it. Yeah, same with mine. I get asked about my title all the time. They're like, "Shut up and grind." And one guy was like, "So, why are you telling people to shut up?" And I was like, "No, no, no." I said, "I'm not telling them to shut up. They need to shut up the little voices in their head that's holding them back.
Yeah.
Like that's where that came from. Because
Yeah.
like this all stemmed. I had a bad knee injury in 2009, and the doctors told me I was never going to run or jump again. And every single day, I did what I had to do to defy those odds. So the doctor was like, "It's like less than 10% chance." I'm like, "Well, pencil me into that 10%." I was like, "Cause this is happening." I was like, "You don't get to decide how I'm going to heal." I was like, "We
That's
haven't
right.
even had the surgery yet, and you're already telling me how I'm going to heal." And so, I've done over 200 races since then. Obstacle
That's
races, track
awesome.
meets, road races. Yeah, and that's where this came from, because there's so many people that get told something and they just run with it. They just run with it, and you don't have to do that. Going back to what you said earlier, you have a choice. Like I
Yeah.
could have just took what he said and not put forth any effort to make a full comeback, but I didn't do that. I believed in myself. I put the work in, and boom, here we are.
That's
So
why we put a satisfaction assessment in the book at the beginning of the book. After you start reading it, we have you stop and take an assessment to say, how satisfied are you in your life? And if you're not satisfied with something, why? And that's when you start to see excuses and blame and say, I can't do anything about it, or maybe it'll get better next year. And those traps that hold us as a victim. We wanted people to declare where their life is like, because you deserve to create the life you really want. But you got to own that. That's what a definition of accountability is. You own it. That's simple enough.
yeah,
And so if you don't like your life, do something about it, because nobody cares if you're fat, miserable, broke, unhappy with your job, your spouse, your kids. Nobody cares. They got their own junk to worry about. But when you care, you can choose to do something about it. And you have all the power that's necessary to change anything in your life. It will be a struggle. It was hard to sell my house and start over. It was embarrassing to have to admit I screwed up. And you embrace the suck in the journey as you decide to own your life, but you come through it a better person. You come through it living the life you really want and not playing the role of a victim. That is better. That's a better life.
absolutely. So the very first day of track, we had a meeting, and I said to the students, like I coach high school, and I said to the students, I said, this is probably going to be the hardest thing you've ever done. I said, but if you keep showing up at the end of the season, you're going to be physically stronger and you're going to be mentally stronger. I said, because I put in a lot of these teachings into the trainings. And so I do a lot of mental performance talks with the team as well. And one thing I gotta say is like their effort is very, very good. I mean, like I have a lot of freshmen and sophomores, but I tell them, like, you guys put the work in now, you'll be unstoppable by the time you're a senior. I
That's
said, you
for
think
true.
it's a long way away, but it's not. I mean, I can picture me walking across the stage like it was yesterday. That was 32 years ago. Like it's gonna
Yeah,
go
isn't that
by
funny though? How
fast.
when you're young, every year is a long time. And then when you've got through life, I'm 61. I look back and I think, I don't even remember high school graduation, but everything was such a big deal back then. Uh, there's nothing you're going to face today that will really matter that much. Even those really bad days with my father and those horrible, scary nights in my house, I don't remember that anymore. That's nothing
Yeah.
in my life. I don't think about that every day. So whatever you're facing, you'll look back at this one day and go, "Oh, that was that." And I think that we've got to get into this mindset that we really are going to be able to move ahead with the life that we really want and chase that aggressively, because all these things may be problems. But I love that saying that says, today is the tomorrow you worried about yesterday. And
Love it.
we spend a lot of time worrying about things.
See, I wanna circle back again to something that you said earlier, where you used the word significance, right? And so even we'll use fitness as the example. Like when people come in for a consultation, like I don't give them a tour of the gym or anything at that point. We go, we sit down, and it's just like, why are you here?
It's a good
Like
question.
why are you here? What is your current state? And then the people that struggle with accountability, I say, for your success, go and find someone in worse shape than you and invite them, because that person is gonna depend on you to come to the gym,
That's a great idea.
right? So now you have a higher purpose. than just you getting back in those size whatever pants. Now
Yeah.
this other person is counting on you
Yeah,
to
that's
get there.
great.
Like significance and purpose is a big thing when you're trying to pivot and change direction in your life.
If everything's about you, your version of the world is everything's happening to you. But if everything is about everybody else, the things that are happening are for you. And so when I looked at my life and I could say that I'm not happy with this or I don't have this and that, it's not all about me. God created me to live a life where I can serve him and care for other people. And there's a lot of people who have really hard situations. And if we all band together, we can care for one another and help. But if all I do is worry about my stuff and my money and my things and my job and my happiness, man, it's an empty time. I found a lot more joy caring for other people. It makes my life look better, frankly, because as people have some really crappy situations, and so I got a wife who loves me. My kids don't have to live in a wheelchair. I live in Texas, the best country in America. There's a lot of great things going on in my life, and the more I spend time helping and caring for other people, the less I get bound up in all my stuff.
Yeah, exactly. And it's all about gratitude. Getting to a place of gratitude. Like whenever I guest on podcasts about grief, I always talk about watching my father pass away. Going back to what I was saying earlier, that people get stuck on the what, right? It's not about it's not about the what. Like we're all gonna die at some point. You know what I mean? Dying's part of life. So
Yep.
every family in every part of the world is gonna experience death at some point.
Yep.
But I was 45 when my dad passed. So rather than rather than focusing on not having him anymore, because I've interviewed people on this show that never knew their father, whether
Mm.
the father just wasn't in their life, whether they were abusive, whether one of the kids' dad got killed in Vietnam while his mom was pregnant with him. So he never knew his dad. I had this man for 45 years. So I just started. I mean, obviously, was it sad in the moment? Of course, it was.
Sure.
I did a podcast episode the very next day where I bawled for like 10 minutes because I always
Mm.
say, show up. No matter what happens, you got to show up. And
Yeah.
so I showed up. I let the tears flow right on the live stream, and I just quickly reconciled it. But I went back to just the good times, the times where he made me mad, the times where he encouraged me, him yelling in the stands during my basketball games. Like I got to experience 45 years of memories with this dude.
That's
It's
cool.
like, and it just helped the sadness go away.
That's cool. I like that.
Thank you, thank you. All right, so we got a few minutes left here. So where can people find your book? What do you think the biggest takeaway is besides nobody cares until you do? Why don't you expand a little deeper on it, and then let people know where they can find you?
The biggest takeaway is you have all the power in the world to change your life. You have
Yes.
gotten very comfortable feeling and thinking like a victim, but it's not true. And I love what the Bible tells me about my relationship with God. He came to set us free and to have a life that's abundant, one that's full of joy. So if you're miserable in your life, it's probably what you're doing. It's really probably because you are looking at yourself as stuck and you're not stuck. It is hard. It can be difficult, but you're not stuck. You can change. You can move. You have all the authority and power to decide what to do with your life. But the longer you get in this victim mindset where everything's happening to you and you can't do anything about it, the longer you stay in the mud, the harder it'll be. And the longer it takes you to take that first step, the less likely you'll ever take it. And so if you really don't like your life, if you really don't like stuff in your life, do something about it. As hard as it is, as hard as it can be, you've known that. You lived in a hotel for a while when you hit rock bottom. You know what it's like to go back and rebuild. We've all had a journey, but everything is capable. Everything is possible. You just got to own it. I hope people will feel inspired from our stories that no matter where you're at, there's still hope. There's still an opportunity.
Yes, great. And where can people find you and the book?
Oh yeah. Okay. So the book is available on Amazon and Barnes and Noble and Target and all those websites. We have a website called nobodycaresbook.com. We prefer you buy it from us because we want to have you in our database. I want you to share your satisfaction assessment with me so I can see where your life is and encourage you in your journey. I read and respond to every single email that comes in because we didn't write the book just to be able to say we wrote a book. We wrote the book to change people's lives because
Yes.
accountability has changed our lives. And so we want people to find that freedom. So go to nobodycaresbook.com and order from us. We'll send it out right away, and we'll send it out with a note and want to be a part of your journey as you press on.
Awesome. And are you on socials or or are your socials on your website?
Yeah, they're listed on our website. We're on Facebook and LinkedIn, and we don't do it well. It's out there just kind of hanging out. We both have our own businesses. Salem is the co-author who wrote the book with me. He's got 2 companies he's taking responsibility for. We got kids, we got life. And so, we don't push the book very often, but we're getting our act together and getting out. The audio book will come out next month. We recorded it. We read the book ourselves, nice. And it'll be out next month. So we can have that as an option too.
That's awesome. Good stuff. Well, thank you very much for taking the time. I'm pretty certain I put all the links in the description anyways for your socials and for your website. Thank you. Yeah, it's a solid conversation. You're welcome to come back. I do panels every now and then. If you want to come back and join one of the panels. But I'm booking pretty far out now though. But if one comes up and you're interested, I usually send out an email blast. And the first 6 people to respond, I'll get the 6 people, and then I'll pick the topic, because I've interviewed you all, and I know what you can all speak on. And here, let me give you an example. This was one where it was me and 4 others, I believe. Yeah. So once I got the 4, I picked the embracing vulnerability, because I know all 4 of them can speak very well on that topic. So Sweet. Rather than picking a topic first and then trying to match the right speakers, because again, I got hundreds of people in the database. So
that's cool.
If you're interested, just keep a lookout for that.
I will. I enjoyed being on your show. I think you're a good host, and I like the way you look at life.
Thank you. Much appreciated. All right. Take care.
You've been listening to Shut Up and Grind. We hope you've gotten some useful and practical information from this show. Robert has over 20 years experience pouring his knowledge and expertise at many events in the service and fitness industry, as well as secondary schools and universities. He has a true passion for helping others break through the barriers that are holding them back. To book Robert B. Foster to speak or to reach out, go to robertbfoster.com. Till next time, shut up and grind.